because my mental toughness, tenacity, etc., is modeled more about Winston, who was a pussy baby growing up, and he had to find things to toughen himself up. But it is no accident that when you look at Skibo Castle and Guthrie Castle, there's direct similarities. That's not a fucking accident. That's not motherfucking serendipity. Especially when I set my goals 28, 29 years ago. Before I knew about Guthrie Castle, before I knew a lot of the things, and by Allah's will, somebody's fucking will, umpteen years later, here I am. Although only 15 months later did I buy this place. Just as this room is the perfect place for this seminar, and I believe very much that, unfortunately, Corona is going to be with us a long, long time. And that's why this estate is the perfect metaphor for yesterday's dreams or today's realities. And I tell you, I didn't dream big enough. I didn't dream big enough. Although my first office with Great Western, my first chairman was Robert Anderson, former Secretary of the Treasury under Eisenhower, and my first office was 30 Rock Plaza, because we used his offices, Rockefeller Plaza, the top of Rock Plaza, where Mr. Rockefeller founded. He didn't found Exxon, it says Standard Oil there, but that's where his offices were. It's not an accident that the three sovereign governments have asked me for advice on their sovereign funds. And I can list thing after thing after thing after thing from now until tonight of the extraordinary feats that I've accomplished. Given the same information that we've given you here, without the webinars, without the templates, without all the bullshit. I call it bullshit. I don't mean it's bullshit, but just like I call everything shit. Yeah. With all the tools, the kids in the 90s who created tens of billions with nothing even remotely close to what you're leaving here with today or tomorrow. When Dan Locke and Bruce Whipple, amongst two, came back to the seminar after many, many years, they said, fuck. The only thing you don't do is buy the fucking first business for him, Dan. And you still fail. Now, admittedly, there is a small percentage of people that come to the seminar that don't have the mental capacity to use this shit. But we've got a guy on the Down syndrome guy. That's pretty far down the fucking the continuum. But it's not the intellectual capacity they don't have. There's no way they have the emotional capacity because they've got so much fucking baggage they can't get rid of it. We have a small percentage of people that have so much baggage. 40% of the women that come here have been sexually abused. 25% of the men that come here have been sexually abused. And the men being sexually abused are catching up to the gals, which is a sad commentary about life. A very sad commentary about life. We have transsexuals, bisexuals, all those initials that they have, for people that have different preferences, made this successful. We don't allow pedophiles, knowingly I don't allow pedophiles, but so they may be able to use it, but I just don't know about it because I don't allow them in the class if I know it. We've had a couple over the 25, 30 years that we had to get rid of. Every sexual persuasion known to man has made, except for the pedophiles, I'm not positive, has made this program work. But as Bruce and Dan said when they came back after many years, what else can we do? Or Dan, what else can you do for them other than buy the deal? I said the first or second day, probably most of you would, I'll do the first deal, I'll take 99%, you take it. But then, why am I sitting here and not out there? The opportunities are so rampant. South Africa is a big example because they will literally have gold running in the streets because it's so fucked up there. God bless Nelson Mandela. Not for the reasons black people say God bless him, but he was a smart fuck. But he's not given credit for what he should have been given credit for. The world is our fucking oyster. And I would be disingenuous if I said it breaks my heart. But close. It breaks my fucking heart to see you not taken more seriously. It breaks my fucking heart to see you not be serious about this. It is going to be the biggest fucking regret you ever fucking had in your life. You will want to kick yourself the rest of your fucking life from 20, 25 years from now when your grandchildren say, what the fuck did you do during the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of the fucking 14 billion years the planet's been up? We're going to have more suicides 25 years from now than now. And you deserve to be killing yourself 20, 25 years from now if you don't use this shit. Even if you don't use it properly, you can get fucking rich. The webinars that we've heard so far, I say, everybody that you heard so far hasn't said 100% of the truth because they don't even know what the fuck they're doing, right? The people you're going to hear today don't know what the fuck they're doing, but they're rich. It transcends not just not knowing about the industry you're in. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to know 2 and 2 equals 4. If you believed. But it's obvious to me you don't. It's as obvious as my $50 billion man bespoke suit that I'm wearing. It's the people that have faith. A lot of you believe in some higher power. You can't prove it. You believe it on faith. Every single person that you've heard so far in the webinar believes it on faith. They've said it different ways. If it's like the Word of God, the book of Dan. And we have thousands of them. Tonight, this afternoon, after you see the other 3 or 4 webinars, I'm going to ask you, which one resonated with you most? This guy, this gal, this guy, this guy. All of you will raise your hand to somebody. But it's obvious to me that they didn't resonate with you. It's obvious to me based on your questions. You're still asking questions that you shouldn't have even asked. If you had read all the materials I told you to read before you got here, and if you really knew my material like a lot of you bullshit, I've read everything you've done, Dan. Well, that's a lie. Either that or you're beyond the Down syndrome kid in stupidity. You can't possibly have read all that shit and asked the questions you asked. It's not fucking possible. Or you got a 40 IQ or whatever. And guys with 40 IQ can't talk. Remember I told you about the guy in the mission that Sally and I support, the St. Teresa, who was supposed to die after 2 or 3 months, and he's now 28 years old and he's got a head this big? He can't say the words. His body's this big and his head's this big. He could assimilate more of the material than you have assimilated vis-a-vis your questions. Somebody asked me a day or two ago, pontificating about who shouldn't be born and who should be born. Now that kid, the nuns say he should have been born. I say he shouldn't have. Poor people say when you get pregnant, it's a gift of God. Well, God must have a fucking funny sense of humor if he allows a kid to have a fucking head this big after 28 years.